Every year as the blockbuster season ramps up, one horror movie sneaks in out of nowhere and cleans up at the box office. Whether it's Get Out, The Witch, or It Follows, it's like we need a palate-cleansing dose of terror before the onslaught of Star Wars and infinite superheroes. And this year's scary sleeper hit could be A Quiet Place, John Krasinski's new horror film with a simple but spine-tingling premise. Monsters have taken over the world, and if they hear you, they hunt you. The movie strips away one of the most important elements of cinema, dialogue. The characters barely speak a word, most of the movie is in American Sign Language, and that only makes it more terrifying. A Quiet Place isn't the only movie to substitute dread for dialogue, and it's not hard to see why. I'm Kaya, and today I want to talk about the movies that don't, and see how silence is louder than screams. Let's face it, horror movies aren't really known for their witty dialogue. That's one of the reasons kill count videos are so popular, besides all the views I give them. They cut out all the bullshit and jump straight to the good stuff, and by the good stuff, I mean the gore stuff, obviously. By dumping dialogue, we do lose stuff like Freddy Krueger's shit talking.
How's this for a wet dream?
And some hilariously cheesy lines.
You too!
But we can gain a lot in exchange, starting with atmosphere. During the silent era, directors had to rely on stylized, expressionistic set design, lighting, shadows, and creepy makeup to create images that are scary as f*** even 100 years later.
Nosferatu!
Today's horror movies still rely heavily on imagery to deliver the terror, especially in films that leave characters without a voice. Like in 2016's Hush, where a deaf and mute woman is stalked by a masked killer. It uses a constantly moving Steadicam to turn her house into a deadly maze, where if she turns the wrong corner, she's dead. Don't Breathe is another movie that turns the tables as we follow a group of thieves who set out to rob a blind man, well, blind. But they find way more than they bargained for. He can't see our heroes, but he can hear them. And just like Hush, the cameras turn yet another nice, quaint house in the suburbs into a terrifying tomb. In A Quiet Place, the forests of upstate New York become a lonely, empty hunting ground where you'll be sliced in half if you so much as sneeze. Horror doesn't come from what a character says, it comes from the situation they're stuck in. And without the crutch of dialogue, silence can be an incredible tool in a director's arsenal, especially when it comes to building tension. How many horror movies have you seen where characters hide in the closet, holding back a scream as the killer slowly walks by? How many Final Girls have stumbled around a dark basement looking for clues until some asshole cat jumps out and scares the living shit out of them? The kill might be the satisfying part, but the horror is in the anticipation, the eerie silence punctuated by a muffled heartbeat, echoing footsteps, and a score that builds perfectly to a jump scare.
He's laughing at us. You got what you deserved. He's alive! He's alive!
But hey, you don't have to take my word for it. Alfred Hitchcock has a famous anecdote perfectly explaining the art of on-screen tension.
In order to get suspense, you provide the audience with a certain amount of information and leave the rest of it to their own imagination.
It's about an imbalance of information, about what we know versus what the characters know. In Hush, murder and mayhem happens all around our heroine. She can't hear her neighbor's agonized screams, but the audience can see every gory detail. We can feel the danger, even if she can't. Don't Breathe has a similar example when our heroes are first confronted by the blind man. They know he can't see them, and we know they're in for a world of hurt if they utter a sound. Money speaks up in an attempt to convince the blind man that he's acting alone, which means Rocky has to stifle her scream as her friend is shot in the f***ing face right in front of her. Don't steal, guys, it's wrong. A Quiet Place uses the character's forced silence to play with our expectation. What's gonna happen when somebody steps on a rusty nail? How how is Emily Blunt gonna give birth without her or her baby uttering a sound? And I wouldn't want to be around when that shotgun goes off. The movie sets up scenarios that force us to think about consequences, which makes the payoff all the more frightening. You don't need words to sell a feeling, but what about a story? Let's see how they handle exposition. A lot of fright flicks suffer from what I like to call the Crazy Ralph syndrome, named after my favorite Friday the 13th character that isn't Crispin Glover.
Goody camp blood, ain't you? God damn it, Ralph, get out of here. Go on, get!
You know the drill, there's always a wild-eyed local or friendly neighborhood demonologist that just shows up to drop plot points, knowledge, on whatever's threatening our heroes. It's clunky and elegant and more often than not stops a movie dead in its tracks. Don't get me wrong, I like my gore accompanied by lore, but in horror, the less we know, the more scared we are. That's why the best monsters are barely seen, like the original Xenomorph or the shark from Jaws. You don't need a Skype call from Vincent D'Onofrio to tell you how you're gonna die.
Named Bagul, the eater of children.
Did you say eater?
Yes, of children.
A great director can terrify you without a single word. Now, Hush and Don't Breathe actually have a surprising amount of dialogue for their premises, and they do exposition like the old-fashioned way. But A Quiet Place excels at showing without telling. We learn about the characters' situations from what they do and how they've adapted to their new world. They walk around barefoot and pour paths made of sand to muffle their footsteps. They play Monopoly with soft felt pieces and eat their meals off of lettuce leaves instead of noisy plates. Even though I'm still like, wouldn't the crunch of the lettuce leaves make a sound, but whatever. Sure, there's some newspaper clippings to fill in the blanks, but it's still an awesome example of world building without words. You don't need dialogue to build character either. I mean, just look at the incredible season 4 Buffy episode, also called Hush. It's amazing. The gentlemen are the freakiest monsters I've ever seen in the series, and that's saying a lot. And that's before they steal your voice and claw out your heart. Joss Whedon was worried his show relied too much on his snappy dialogue, so he shut the Scoobies up for a whole episode. There's like a funny part where they're like trying to talk about like killing demons, and Buffy's going like this, but it looks like she's jerking off. and like Xander's looking at her like, what? And she's just like, okay, let me get like utensils to show that I'm trying to club someone over the head. It's really funny. Hush is all about how language gets in the way of characters connecting. But once the noise is stripped away, Buffy and Riley can express their feelings for each other. Gross. Anya overcomes her doubts about Xander. And Tara finds the courage to overcome her shyness. Buffy and Riley are the worst. Buffy's not the worst. Riley is the worst. They're the worst couple. Sorry. Spike and Buffy. That's it. Willow and Tara, Spike and Buffy, Xander and no one because he deserves no one. Without dialogue, their performances tell us all we need to know, just like in A Quiet Place. The movie's real strength comes from its cast, whether it's John Krasinski's famously expressive face, Emily Blunt's steely resolve, or the amazing ASL intensity of Millicent Simmonds. When it comes to conveying terror in a soundless setting, silence speaks volumes. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I'm a huge fan of A Quiet Place. It's such a cool concept and like somehow it worked. Before you go see it, I want to know some more horror movies that go light on the dialogue. Leave a comment and let me know your favorite silent scares. And as always, please subscribe to Now This Nerd.